How are you? How are you doing today? I am Jose. My name is Jay. I'm an intuitive reader, among other things, and a healer, and a teacher, and a shaman, and the list keeps going. Hello, Christy. How are you? I don't know if you know or are familiar with myself or what I do here. I am an intuitive reader, but also at the same time, I'm a psychic. I'm also a medium. I'm a lot of things. A divine interpreter is the best way that I could say that, is what they're telling me right now. So welcome and thank you for being here. I like to do collective readings. I like to do, messages based on the energy that we are receiving right now and not necessarily from a past or future space, even though that the future is really important for all of us, because it's a lot easier to be guided when you know where you're headed, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? So I think a lot of people benefit from this information that we share on our page, on our website, that we help with people and all those things. And this is why we're here. I'm here to be of service. I have these gifts for a reason, and these gifts are meant to be shared, right? So with that being said, I was just waiting. What's up, Iris? Padilla, lost. Where the hell you been? Are you okay? How's everything in your neck of the woods? Hello, Bumblebee. Welcome in, welcome in. And you guys are just in time for, I'm going to get a collective message started here. And there's going to be two sides to this, man, because, I myself personally am kind of tired of all kind of like the glitz and the glam that everybody keeps on chasing, not looking at the reality and the facts of things, right? Everybody wants the promise of a miracle, but doesn't realize that they are the miracle that has the promise in them, And I think that, we realize these things along the way, especially when we kind of like tune into ourselves or listen to teachings or promote some type of mentorship or eldership or spiritual study within yourself. You know what I'm saying? It's all about the inner work, and we promote that, so for those of you who are empathic, very sensitive to energy, like you just said, Christy, again, thank you for being here, because a lot of these messages are based on that sensitivity and the explanation of these sensitivities and how they work in our lives, allowing us to become more intuitive with our own intuition, our natural sense of being, sense of self, sense of self-worth and awareness, right? Because a lot of us are lost right now. Let me start of it. A lot of us are still kind of like missing the mark of where we're at. So we're still focusing on some type of heartache, some type of misconception of self, or how abundance works, is what I'm also being told here, and we all have to make decisions, but it's important to make decisions based on the fact that that you're either fighting yourself or not, right? And I think that's where a lot of people have a lot of diversity right now in their lives, not realizing that they're being pulled in many different ways. If not four, they're many. And when you're pulled these many different ways, basically what happens is we become distracted. We don't become in tune with the moment. We disconnect from the presence, in a sense, right? And one of those reasons is because we realize in this moment that there's some medicine that needs to be accepted, some understood somehow in our lives. And what I love about this Five of Pentacles is a medicine wheel is also associated with this. Some people still call it a cross. Some people will call it a compass. But this is all about how much you value yourself and how much self-worth you actually have. And I think this is what a lot of people are starting to discover now. They're looking at things with a more open vision, a more clear vision, a more conscious vision, allowing them to kind of like embrace what is coming in the future for themselves, looking at the promise instead of the accidents, is the best way that Spirit's saying here right now. It's about this focus of, kind of arguing with ourselves and not being able to focus on other things because we're too simultaneously emotionally involved with things. And I think that's really important. We're meant to overcome these things. We're meant to, see these things in a way where we're more open to opportunity of what we're being shown or what is being blessed upon us in those moments, instead of focusing on all that kind of like monotonous bullshit that goes in a lot of people's lives, and we kind of eye roll to everything, right? That keeps us in that distracted variety that we don't necessarily have to pick up on. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is what keeps us all over the place, and it has us wondering and keeping us from the promise of what the present moment actually gives to us. You know what I'm saying? We're victorious, and we always have that sense of victory within us, as long as we're willing to look at it. But when we become emotionally committed to something, we kind of like take a deep dive into what we're emotionally committed to, not realizing that we kind of close off everything around us when we become focused on something, right? Especially when we're distracted. And I think that's important to understand. because you're always meant to be victorious. You're not supposed to have your head down. You're not supposed to sit there and fucking kind of like sulk on somebody else's feelings or your feelings of the situation. You're being presented with a feeling inside of yourself that is asking you to look past it, rise above it, or embrace it or embody it, right? And this is what kind of people don't understand the variety that's on the wall for them right now with this card. You know what I'm saying? Like, we realize that all paths lead to the one, all paths lead to the source, the creator, our greatest, highest, most successful self, regardless of how we want to put that, right? But we understand that there's steps that we have to take along the way to get to that goal that we seek, right? And it could be a manifestation. It could be something that you're willing into existence. It could be something that you're creating for yourself. It could be a better environment, you know, a move. You know, you've been putting off ideas for so long that now you want to actually encourage those ideas, or you're inspired to engage in those ideas right now, you know. And this is what we get when we hang from the tree of knowledge, in a sense. You know what I'm saying? When we actually do the discernment and we step for we take a minute and not look at the objectivity, look at the positive objectivity of what's being presented to us. Because I think that a lot of people don't understand the amount of blessings and variety they have, but they also are starting to see that each and every emotional cup that we carry within ourselves maintains some type of weight. And this is all that disillusionment that's going on right now, is we're becoming more self-aware to the fact that our emotions are putting us in a bubble, so we can only focus on those things and the things that distract us in that type of bubble, right? A lot of you are breaking free from the bubble. This is what you're seeing right now. This is where you realize that, hey, this is a con job. I don't have to feel this way. I don't have to be this way. I don't have to think this way. I don't have to look this way. I don't have to act this way. You know what I'm saying? I am no longer scared of the world in the ways that I've been scared of the world. And this is what this new energy is teaching us. This is what the spring is all about. This is about remembering, right? Because the rebirth aspects of yourself, you've engaged in one way or another through this winter season, through the winter solstice. The world solstice is all about death and rebirth and getting ready for the new. And here we are in the precipice of spring. We got a full moon. If not now, then tomorrow for some people. We have Mercury coming out of retrograde and then entering the post-shadow aspect of those things, where things start moving. If you haven't picked up on it by now, things are moving in your favor. They always have been. And you're going to be clearer on your ability to see those things, I promise you. You know what I'm saying? This is what that realization all about, is realizing that your stability comes from your lack of consuming stressful environments or stressful creations of other people, and being more focused or self-centered within yourself, not from a selfish perspective, but from a more masterful perspective of honoring the energy within you, because it speaks to you and tells you the things that you need to do in the moment. You know what I'm saying? Or prepares you for a future, prepares you for success, prepares you for the goals that you actually intend. You know, because when you speak these things into existence, the universe is listening always. Okay? She always hears you. Yes, she always hears you. Every time you think something, every time you ask something, every time you intend something, those things are all there. But if we have our head in the clouds, in a sense, we can't see that all that variety is right there in front of our face. And all we got to do is grasp it, but we got to tune into the frequency of what we're asking, right? That's how you discover things, is what Spirit said. This is how you don't get lost. This is how you see things clearly. This is how you're directed the conscious way. Because your awareness, your quietness, and your stillness is a currency like no other. And as you continue, and as you consistently navigate the way that we swim through reality, through our lives every day, in more of a flowy like state, you realize that a lot of these pressures that have been placed upon us because of the way that we think, and we start alleviating and having more clarity and tune into ourselves, we push all that noise away so we can focus on what it is that we truly want to do. If not, we're giving that energy away to anything that distracts us, anything that pulls our focus away from what it is that we really want to do with our lives and what are we passionate about, in a sense, you know? And that's what all these cards are saying, is like, do you, boo. You have a choice to be you. And that's the interesting fact about all these realizations that we're having right now, you know, on this new moon, in this new energy. And we say it all the time, new moon, new you, that you see things that are more successful in your life than the hindrances that have kept you stuck in the past, right? And when we embrace and embody these things, we go on the journey of discovering more and more of that, because now we're in charge of knowing how we say yes to the universe and how we manifest these things into our lives. How do these things come in? When you understand and you study the architecture of the cycles and patterns that are happening right now in people's lives, you are on the path of the observer that allows you to navigate things with a more conscious effort and a decision to be inspired and motivated and be passionate about the things that you do, then just accept it for what it is and keep it there because you believe that it just is, you know? And that's not fair, is what Spirit is saying. You're supposed to devote yourself to things. You're supposed to honor and respect things. You're supposed to put love into things because that's how things grow. That's how they're maintained. They're nurtured. They're honored. They're comforted at times. And these are no different than the human aspects, right? We all need this in some way or another. You know, whether we disagree or agree, we do need these things, and how we get them might be under an illusion. You know, because our sentiments, our emotions literally tell us everything we need to know. It doesn't matter what we think. The emotion's always the same when it comes to that space. And that's what a lot of people are realizing right now as well, you know. So all this variety that we have to pick and choose from that's going on right now is the pick and the choice. That you understand that you have the ability to pick and choose, but from what place are you picking and choosing from, right? Are you choosing from your gut instinct? Are you choosing from your intuition? Are you choosing because this is the better way for you to improve your life in one way or another? Are you choosing from these things? Are you actually understanding that you take ownership when you choose, regardless of the small choices that you make, which become big choices, or the big choices that you make that look small in the long run because you're always climbing the mountain in a sense, you know? And that's what this message is all about. It's like discernment. The beauty of discernment is knowing that you have the power to make a decision that is going to influence your life for the rest of your life in one way or another. Chess, not checkers, fam. You know, we got to learn how to play the long game because we're too busy being spoiled with the quick shit. You know what I'm saying? When we got Amazon Prime, we can have shit in 2 days, a day, same day. You know, we become accustomed to that, and then that bleeds into everything that we do through compulsion. You know what I'm saying? We expect things now. We anticipate things to be now. We want those things to be now, not realizing that we're skipping the fat of the matter, which is the most important part. This is the thing that puts it all together, that keeps it together. You know what I'm saying? We have to go through those things too. We have to experience those things. Because when we shortcut shit, we end up stuck in the pit, is what Spirit just said. And that's not the all of it. The rest of it is understanding that we put ourselves there through the decisions, the beliefs, and the actions that we make, right? You know, a lot of people don't want to agree with that very fact, or the people that are agreeing with that, that's very true, have the ability to become more self-aware of the decisions that they're making and in the way that they're making them with this now new perspective or new perception of looking at your questions that you ask yourself, the way that you talk to yourself, the way you act around other people, or whether you keep to yourself consistently and completely, right? Because I'll be honest with you, I love animals more than people sometimes. You know, hey, dude, we all do it. But we understand that you can't have one without the other. You can hide from it as much as you want, but it doesn't matter. It's always going to be in your face because you fear it, or you hate it, or you loathe it. And there's something that I tell people all the time. I mean, you love what you hate and you hate what you love, because the same amount of energy is put in both. Because you are that passionate, loving form of creation, right? And through your focus, you create these things for yourself because you give them the energy to allow to exist in your life. That doesn't go without saying that universal laws to be respected. You can't have one without the other, but you can pick and choose where you want to be at. And understand that when you do pick and choose where you want to be at, you go on the journey of getting there. And that's what the experience is all about. And that's how your soul grows. That's how soul growth and evolution works, fam. We have to be willing to expand just like the universe is expanding. And we can't necessarily hold on to things that don't serve us, because that hinders our expansion, creates resistance, creates chaos, unsettled beliefs, unsettled emotions. It creates a lot of unnecessary things in our lives when we're not flowing with life and we're fighting against it, you know? With that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this collective message with these cards and stuff like that. We all have the ability to be masterful in the ways that we're meant to be masterful. But we have to start believing in that, you know, and trusting in the divine is one way to easily access that, because you are them, they are you, and we are it. You know, we're all together in this one way or another, whether you want to believe it or not. You know, this is a community that is coming together in your life to help you learn and grow about the things that actually ail you, to teach you these things. And not only that, to teach you about the curiosities and the wondrous things about being a spirit in a body and enjoying the life of human form, without necessarily bypassing any any reality checks or practicality that you have to have living in a physical world, in a physical body, when the spirit in you is eternal and infinite and has no boundaries, right? So we have to understand that this is kind of like a microcosm of a limiting belief or a boundary that we put on ourselves because we are infinite beings having a human experience, right? So our infinity should always have its integrity and authenticity at all times. Through everything that we do, that we are these eternal beings having these experiences, you know, because all paths lead to the one, all paths lead to source and the discovery of the creator, which is also you, because you're connected to it, right? We aren't necessarily as ambitious as we should be about embracing this very fact. We don't have to get caught up in Delulu land and as you know, as woo-woo as that may sound, the reality of it is that you have a practical self that is here experiencing, you know, this human life with everybody else, and we're here all for the purpose of co-creation. And a lot of people will say, no, I'm not really co-creating with anybody. Well, you're co-creating with the universe, okay? And that should be put first, and that's an understanding that we need to have first, is that you are in co-creation. You are here for the purpose of co-creation and understanding and understanding the purpose of what the universe is and your consciousness and your conscious self and how all those things evolve, learn, and grow. Once you understand these processes, once you take that leap or you expand your journey or expand your awareness in those ways, then you actually embody and start living the physical practicality of what it means to be a spiritual being having a human experience, connected to the divine, with all the beautiful gifts that a lot of you may have, being sensitive, being empathic, being a psychic, being a medium, being a shaman, you know what I'm saying? Being an intuitive reader. If you play with the tarot cards, then you play with the planets, you play with the astrology. You get what I'm saying? You're actually playing with the things, the very things that help create you in the first place. And this is what we're all connected to. And it doesn't have to be a fallacy or a fucking dream. We could be here and be totally responsible for ourselves and honor the creator within, for we are all our it, and actually learn how to live in harmony and have more compassion for one another. You know, we got to love people from afar, don't get me wrong, but we need to have compassion for ourselves, because when we encounter other people that are fucking emotionally wounded and locked up, we have a tendency to reflect that very energy upon ourselves, not realizing that we are doing the very same thing by limiting what the universe is presenting us in that moment to limit us as well, because we become emotionally involved because we don't want to experience those things, right? When it's our right and we're the ones who have to give consent and permission to say no to these experiences, but from a place of learning, teaching, wisdom, and experience. That's how you truly solve things. That's how we truly let go of things. We come to terms with a great many things that make no sense to the fucking universe, and then we embrace the things that make sense to us. You know, the things that were meant to be, the things that were meant to do, the things that feel right, not from a place of habit, but because it flows, it moves you, it motivates you, it drives you, it pushes you, it makes you want to do more of it, because you're in love with yourself now. You're in love with that connection. You're in love with that flow of the divine creation that you are, you know, and we all need to do more of that some way or somehow, but we also need to enjoy the journey of getting there, you know. And I think that's what, honestly, more so, this is what this message is all about, and this is what it's all about. It's about us living in joy, not fear. It's about us not necessarily becoming emotionally involved with things that really we have no business emotionally involving ourselves with. You know, other people, places, and things, war, greed, poverty, all those things. These are all emanations of fear. These are people that believe themselves to be in some form of purgatory because somebody made them believe those things. You know what I'm saying? It's no different than a Bible or a book, you know, or a doctrine is what Spirit is saying. You know, we have to be more open-minded and more accepting of the fact that we are divine truth, instead of having to seek it outside of ourselves for some type of confirmation, when the confirmation is already inside of you, because you would not be here and you would not have these gifts and would not understand these things if it wasn't meant for you in the first place. You know what I'm saying? We'd be talking backwards to a lot of people because they're not on that wavelength where you have the ability to understand what we're putting down here, you know? And that's how it works. That's how the illusion works, fam. That's how you're able to walk amongst the many without them even putting an eye on you, because you are no longer in a frequency of attracting those things in your life. This is manifestation, you know? This is deep inner work and deep inner experience, what I'm talking about here. because and your soul knows it to be true because there's something inside of you that resonates with what's being said here. You know what I'm saying? You can go now teach it if you want, but you're going to experience regardless of whether you teach it or not. Some of us realize that we don't even speak these things to existence, or we listen to somebody else who speaks this into existence, and we resonate with that moment, and bam, we are on that journey. Why? Because it's something that's meant for us in that moment, that is divinely led, that is part of the architecture that is putting you that is taking you to the promised land. And it might not feel good at first, or it might seem troubling, or you might seem fearful or vulnerable or very sensitive to the situation. But nevertheless, it's something that you're meant to push through in one way or another. It's to show you your own strength by confirming the very fact that by doing this different, because it emotionally kept you stuck, sound, or safe, or kept you in the perspective of stability, hasn't allowed you to embrace the new boundary that you've created for yourself, allowing you to release the old, release the ways of the past, and embrace something new. Not necessarily confident or courageous about the shit, but at least you're doing something that you haven't done before, and the things that you have been doing, you're realizing while you're doing something new, that the things you have before weren't working for these reasons. So there's a deductive process that also puts us on that path as we experience it, that lets us know, hey, this is how the proper architecture works, because now you're actually doing the work where normally you would be distracted. You're like, nah, fuck that. Where normally you wouldn't be unclear, you would wait for the clarity return. This is that shift that's happening in a lot of people, that's happening right now to a lot of people, fam. We don't realize that we're actually becoming more pensive, more patient with things, more conscious, more constant, more committed, more communal. This is the energy of promise that is being given to people so long as we are willing to accept it, is what Spirit just said. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull some more cards for people. If you'd like a reading, I am doing donation readings. All donations go to the sanctuary that we're building, fam. We are actually doing a sanctuary where you can experience ourselves, our teachings, and our way of being that is led by the divine. This is God, fam. This isn't us putting together a program. This has been all divinely led and divinely orchestrated to bring you the opportunity to have a physical experience on a sanctuary with us, to enjoy what the divine wisdom, divine love, divine compassion, and a natural way of being actually is, dude, because we live fucking backwards, man. And when this sanctuary is done, you're going to realize how much you've been living backwards, or we've been living backwards as a society, because the natural ways of life were the ways that we're meant to be. Not technology and all those things, even though that those things are cool. And this is how we communicate. We're meant to embrace those things, and we're meant to put love in it and not manipulation like it's been used in the past. So everything that's here is going to be dissolved and reiterated and reinvented in one way or another. And we are part of that progress that's happening right now. And this is why the world is blowing up. You know what I'm saying? That's exactly why the fuck it's blowing up, dude. Because each and every one of you are intending to live a better life than you have been before, instead of following the fucking program or the mechanism that keeps you perpetually stuck in the same fucking place, because you can't believe farther than you can actually launch a rocket, in a sense, for an idea. Right? Not knowing that the ideas actually come from within. God gives them to you. Spirit does. They show you the way. They guide you. They promise you these things. They don't and they back it up, because everything has a confirmation that is divinely led. So really, it's more about trusting the fact that you are receiving these messages, that you are a part of this energy, and that you are meant to manifest more for yourselves. Is kind of like really important when you say it like that, right? And that's what we all need to want, because all these things are going to intensify anyway. So the proof is in the progress, and the progress is in you, right? And if you're not making any progress, you're suffering. You know what I'm saying? Because right now we're coming out of that suffering. We're coming out of that delusion where we don't have to be emotionally involved with all those things anymore. We can feel freely, because our sensitivity is our path to consciousness. It's our path to oneness. We embrace it as a gift and not look at it like as a hindrance, and we got to hide it from everybody. You know what I'm saying? This is a conglomerate of what the energy is fucking literally presenting for us right now, And with all truth be told, let it be what's meant to be in your lives, man, and be open to it. They almost show me like you're opening up your shirt and you're allowing your heart chakra to flow and feel for the first time in a fucking long time, because now the energy is backing it up, right? And that's really important for people to understand, because the wheel's always turning in your favor. This is kind of like a reset or a reboot or a rebirth that is actually going on in people's lives, bro. And if you keep on focusing on the bad shit, you're eventually not going to have anything to focus on because there won't be any. You know what I'm saying? I think this is what's teaching us the most right now is the value of our energy, our sense of self-worth, and our doubt in it, you know? And it's really intense when it comes to that crazy truth, and it almost might make your ear buzz, right? It might ring an ear. You might get some tingling sensations. You might feel like something's around you in this moment. And these are all beautiful confirmations of something being around you that you can sense that lets you know that the energy is true. Now, guaranteed, there might be something that's uncomfortable around you because you may not know what it is, you know, but the beauty of discernment tells you exactly by how it makes you feel. You know, it's not something you need to think about. It's just something that you need to remember because you've already felt it before. And each spirit is definitely, it has resonance with an emotion, especially a negative one, right? So we pick up on all these things all the time as intuitive readers, as intuitive healers. We're not realizing that this is part of our teaching. This is part of our college or earth school that you probably heard a million times but never realized you were really, really fucking in it. You know what I'm saying? You just thought that it was just a fucking school of hard knocks, you know, where you get fucking hit over the head and then you change, or then you want to make a change. No, we're actually telling you that you have the power to make that change more consistently in your life than you actually have been led to believe that you have the opportunity to do so. And this is what we're saying here. This is the real. You know what I'm saying? We're encouraging and helping you understand that believing in yourself is of the utmost importance. All right. And don't rely on anybody else for you to learn how to believe in yourself. That's a journey you must take for yourself. And everyone walks that rite of passage. They deserve themselves. But we also have to see what dissolved us in the first place and turned us into what we didn't believe was true. You know what I'm saying? Real talk, fam. So there's a very moving energy right now. You can embrace it, you can fight against it. You choose, you'll be mowed over it. You know what I'm saying? Like literally, there's no sense in fighting what's meant for you. There's no sense in fighting for something that is actually what you deserve, right? You know what I'm saying? When you already know that you are successful because these things are your divine birthright, that allows you to be more humble in the war that you may think that you're in right now. You know? And I just wanted to reiterate that for people because God's honest truth is God's honest truth, and we truly don't know compassion till we feel it. You know? We want to put our guards up when we receive these messages because we think we're actually utilizing our intuition, but you can't utilize your intuition with a closed mind or heart. And I'm being honest with you. You know, you can't close yourself off and resonate with a fucking message because it doesn't hit you fully. You can't be overprotective of your fucking energy when other people speak because it's your own fears that keep you from enjoying the experience in the first place. Yes, not everything is pleasing, but everything is information. Energy is like food. This is something that we get fed constantly, and it's no different from a plant in the sunlight. And when we cut off that energy because we don't like it, or we feel uncomfortable, and we're scared at it, we're cutting off a piece of ourselves because we're being ignorant. And this is what we're saying here. You know, sooner or later, you have to come to terms with the emotions that make you feel like shit because those aren't your emotions. You never had them in the first place. This is what your awareness teaches you when you embrace that very fact that you are not the emotions that you sense. You are the spirit or the awareness or the consciousness that is aware of the emotions that are in the physical being, that is sending a message to the brain, that is creating a word in your mind, making you think things, when in reality, you're not even the thoughts that you think. You are the observer or the awareness of those thoughts, and that's why you hear them. You know what I'm saying? Not being a smartass fan, you know, but sometimes to legitimize things, we have to slow it way, way down. Do one thing at a time because we haven't done it before, or we don't remember how to fucking do one thing at a time, where we could be consistently aware of everything around us, but have our focused intent on the things that mean the most to us, right? That's distraction in a nutshell. You know what I'm saying? A little philosophy for everybody here. You know what I'm saying? You're not in purgatory. You're not in chaos. What you are is you're in an energy of fear. You're in a dissonance that creates that fear because there's a lack of stability of your knowing of yourself there, right? But if you push past the energy of whatever anxieties or stresses that may be bothering you right now, you realize that the blessed life doesn't move as fast as the speed of life that you've been living now. You really got to slow things way down and be more perceptive of the present moment, because in the present moment is the most fruitful gifts that you can receive, as long as you're willing to tune into them, right? A lot of people have us cold hearts, closed hearts, soft emotions, get offended easy, not realizing that this is a chakra imbalance, an alignment, lack of alignment, a lack of understanding yourself, and a lack of embracing the energy that you are around you, because you are meant to live in this world in harmony. And that's really important, because everybody talks about Gaia and what Gaia means to them and what grounding means to them, not realizing that she is also a conscious being, just like you, that shares the energy that you do because she created you, you know? And if you're going to trust anybody, trust her first. You know what I'm saying? Because, like, not only are your wounds going to come to the surface, she's going to show them to you, but she's also going to show you that you're more than them, which is what we do here at Four Corners Healing 37, if you haven't noticed already. We pick people up so that way they can see themselves, so that way they can see what they look like versus what they think they look like, you know? And we're not fucking with anybody. We're being real with them, because this is all divinely led. This is all God, people. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to question whether I'm full of shit or not, because I'm not the one fucking talking. You know what I'm saying? I allow the divine to speak, you know, which is also me, you know? But I am a character, you see, in a grand orchestra, is what they say, you know? And the Ten of Swords here says everything right now. It's like, are you focusing on your divinity? Are you focusing on your higher self? Are you focusing on the bullshit around you and keeping your awareness away from the very sun or the very light that you are? You know? You can't make this shit up, man. You can't make this shit up, man. It's not meant to be made up anymore. You know what I'm saying? We all have dreams, we all have goals, we all have ambitions, but it's our own heartaches that keep us from this shit. It's our own heartaches and our emotions, or the emotions of others and the beliefs of ourselves and their lives, that keep the wheel from turning in your favor, in your fortune. You know, they turn it in delusion because they're stuck in places 10, 18, 20 years ago, 7, 4, 3, doesn't matter. People are trying to keep you in places where you don't belong, and that's part of one of the thoughts that you're thinking right now. You know, for those of you who are really paying attention, you know what your ex's thoughts are like. You know what I'm saying? Or you know that bullshit motherfucker that you had problems with a couple years ago. You know what that feels like. And every Mercury retrograde, it seems to be another version of the same thing, where people are coming back from the past just to remind you of what you're not. Okay? They might shit on you. They might fucking try to hex you or curse you in one way or another because they can't get over them fucking selves, but that's not your responsibility. Your responsibility is to rise above it, knowing that each retrograde is going backwards to go forwards. It's the grand review. It's that time to take a look at the things that don't serve you once more, right? And when you honor that, you're more confident and you're more in tune with what's happening in the moment, and you're also knowing where you're headed, and you're more willing and you'll be more forthcoming to surrender to that very fact and accept the fact that you are now on a divine path, right? You know, all it takes is one decision, one heartfelt moment, a moment of innocence, a moment of curiosity, imagination, dreams. You know what I'm saying? They're saying dreamland. You know, if you could picture your emotions, what do they look like? Notice how the picture comes up in your head is what Spirit is saying. Notice how you have the beauty of allowing something to envision in your mind that you've never created before. Or have you? You know what I'm saying? Because the remembering is the remembering. And if you've done this before, it'll come out of you naturally. And if you don't know much about it, but you're fascinated by it, then maybe you should do more of it, is what Spirit is saying here. And that's the passion that we all have, the matriarchal energy, dude, becoming that patriarchal aspect of ourselves where we put it into physical action, people. You can't make this shit up, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't make it up, because the world means everything to us. What do our worlds look like? What's important in our worlds? What do we give love to in our worlds? You know what I'm saying? Because we're all the flower. We're in the flower of life, fam. We're all spheres in one way or another. We're all circles intertwined. We are that sacred geometry. This is what we are. We've always been connected. We are not codependent pieces of the universe. We are interdependent pieces of the universe. And honoring and having integrity and respect for that very aspect allows you to enjoy the fruits of what that actually entails. You know what I'm saying? Of what that entails. Sorry. The story told The story untold is what Spirit's saying, because a lot of us haven't discovered those things yet, right? But you will. But you will. And they promise you once again, of course, once you master this, become the master of your emotions. Understand that your emotions are just energy in motion, and you manifest with your emotions. So whatever it is that you hoped on deeply, sacredly, fully, will also become fruitful to you. But what doesn't serve you will also be an emotional aspect of yourself that you will need to learn and grow with. That's what I hear. You know, beautiful messages here, fam. You know what I'm saying? It's not all doom and gloom. Doom and gloom is outside of you to show you what you are inside. Oh man, that's beautiful. The doom and gloom that's going on around you is to show you the beautiful you inside of you, because now that's the only place to look, because you know you'll find beauty there. And the more you find beauty there, the more you'll find beauty around you, because the beauty that's within you will project the beauty that's around you and allow you to see those things more over the shit that you've been succumbed to. Salah. Salah. That's beautiful right there, man. Yeah, no more Ten of Swords is what I hear. No more suffering from the construct when you realize the construct is something that you can create. You know, that's empowerment, fam. That's self-belief. That's self-worth. That's security. That's stability like no other, dude. But at first, you're going to feel fucking unstable. I'm not going to lie. Because you've never done it before, or you just don't remember what the fuck it is, bro. You might release some trauma along the way. You might shake the shit out of you and have you all nervous and anxious for no reason. But if you ground yourself, if you remember during those times of need that this is all happening for the greatest, highest good of yourself and others, then it allows you to perpetuate an energy that helps you get through it with more courage and more fortitude than you have had in the past. You know, this is the beauty of the design, is what Spirit is saying. So with that being said, man, that's a lot for all you beautiful people out there. If you'd like a reading, just donate something, and I'll be more than happy. All the donations go to the ministry and the sanctuary that we are creating for ourselves and others, dude. I'm so happy about that, dude. I'm so excited about that. Finally, we're gonna have a physical place that people can fucking come to, bro, and be face to face. There's no running. There's no fucking hiding. The truth is here. Let's go. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is all about inner growth, self-work, all those beautiful things, because all that inner growth and that self-work bring businesses to life, bring dreams to life, bring goals, bring succession, bring legacy. You embrace your destiny. You're more passionate about those things. You're more manageable and responsive to your finances, and manifesting abundance for you more consistently, realizing that your energy is your currency. It's a discipline, fam. We're all soldiers in that aspect, that we got to understand ourselves and how the universe works and how we co-create with the universe, so that way we're not getting hit over the head over the time and stuck in traffic because we don't know where we're fucking going. You know? Salah. With that being said, if you'd like a reading, I'd be more than happy doing reading right now, fam. If not, I'm going to get up out of here. These messages are fire. They're always fire because they're always divinely led, and led with guidance, love, and compassion. So much love to each and every one of you. Thank you all for being here again. If you'd like a reading, say it now. If not, I'm going to get up out of here. You're welcome, Bumblebee. You take care. You are more than welcome. Is that how you say that? Aletheia? Remembering Aletheia. Or Aletheia. I don't know. Depends on where we come from. That's what I heard. All right, fam. Well, I guess I'm going to get up out of here, and I bid you all adieu. Have a beautiful and blessed day, fam. Hang in there. Hang in there. We still got a couple days for bumpy rides. We're going to go boing, boing, boing. 1, 2, 3 into the weekend. That might not be so sacrificial for some and beneficial. So with that being said, stay tuned for the next one. Like, share, subscribe. Follow me on YouTube where these full videos are posted. If you forget something, you can always come back and remember it. Share it with somebody who you think would benefit from the knowledge and wisdom that we share here on Four Corners Healing 37, this page, and also womb.theancientsun.org and my wife's page, Voyage Between Worlds on YouTube. So, with that being said, have a beautiful and blessed day, people.